I was lucky enough to be at an extraordinary concert at the Vatican Saturday night. The Grace for the World concert was organised by Pharrell and Andrea Bocelli. Jennifer Hudson, John Legend and Karol G were among those performing.
Am I upset? Technically, no, not at all. And I don't think we as Catholics should be upset. Welcome to the Father Leo Show, where I'm dishing out faith, culture, and commentary. And in this episode, we're going to discuss the recent concert with a bunch of celebrity performers at the Vatican, including asking the question if this was even necessary, especially in such a sacred place. And even, was it blasphemous? Because there were some artists there who do not represent the Catholic Church's position, especially in the most important issue, which is life. And so we are going to jump right into it. But before we do, please make sure you like, subscribe, share, and comment. Let me know your thoughts, because your engagement helps us to overcome the algorithms that want to suppress good Catholic pastoral and practical content. And as always, please consider supporting our efforts on patreon.com/The Father Leo Show, which also gives you access to some great perks and some extra content. So let's just jump right into it now with whether or not the church did a good thing by holding a concert at the Vatican. As you know, the Vatican is its own country, Vatican city-state. It's about 2 miles, square miles, and a lot happens there. But recently, a concert happened there. So let's take a look and let's try to figure out how we as Catholics are supposed to interpret this, because for some people, they were scandalized that performers who have very anti-Catholic views were actually performing in the sacred square of San Pietro in Vatican City.
I was lucky enough to be at an extraordinary concert at the Vatican Saturday night. The Grace for the World concert was organised by Pharrell and Andrea Bocelli. Jennifer Hudson, John Legend and Karol G were among those performing. But the show was stolen by an unbelievable drone display. 3,000 drones formed all kinds of amazing images, including the creation of Adam as it appears in the Sistine Chapel, Michelangelo's La Pieta, the depiction of the Virgin Mary holding the body of Jesus. The crowds were especially moved by the late Pope Francis' face lighting up the night sky. And you can catch up with the whole concert on Disney Plus and Hulu.
There you have it. And whenever I hear Disney and Hulu and the Vatican, I think, wait a minute, one of those doesn't belong. Or does it? So let's just try to figure out what this even means, because honestly, I didn't even know about it until I started seeing news reports about it. And I'm thinking, this can't be real. Oh, but it was. So the Vatican brought together an eclectic mix of thinkers and music artists as it seeks to influence both the development of artificial intelligence and the future of humanity. So a summit was held Friday and Saturday, and this was this past weekend here. This was on September the 14th. This article came out September the 14th, and this is from CNN. And so you know that if it's coming from CNN, it's going to get these details correct when it comes to pop culture. But that's why I wanted to read this particular article, because now I want to figure out how it viewed the Catholic Church, or how it portrayed the Catholic Church. So a summit held on Friday and Saturday on quote-unquote human fraternity convened Nobel Prize winners to discuss everything from agriculture to the economy to sports, before culminating with an historic concert at St. Peter's directed by American singer-songwriter Pharrell Williams and celebrated Italian tenor Andrea Bocelli. So among those taking part in the discussion was will.i.am, frontman from the Black Eyed Peas. I mean, again, all these people are in the Vatican. And so basically, let me just keep going here, who had been involved with AI since 2012 and attending a class with the late Patrick Winston, a computer scientist from Massachusetts, MIT. And so the rapper and singer, who heads a technology company called FYI.ai, and supports computer science education in Los Angeles, believes the church and Pope Leo XIV have a role to play in developing AI that serves humanity. And this is what he told CNN, that the Vatican event offered, ready for this, a safe haven for brainstorming on AI. He says it demands that people center themselves around what's good for humanity. He said that they build systems that are for community and for the improvement of society. That's the thesis of why they came to the Vatican. And he also says, I think governments need to get up to speed and put some regulations and governance in place, not to stifle growth, but just to ensure that society is safe. Wow. It says for several years, the Vatican's been pushing for a more ethical AI through meetings with leaders of tech companies, and Pope Francis in 2023 called for a binding international treaty to prevent harmful practices and encourage the best ones. Now, here's going to be my take on all of this. Am I upset? Technically, no, not at all. And I don't think we as Catholics should be upset, because remember that Vatican City is its own country and they could make their own decisions. And I think that this particular Pope Leo, I think that this was all probably organized before Pope Leo. I mean, he can't pull this all together since May, but he is probably the best person, the best pope in our present moment. Well, he's the only pope in our present moment, but the best person because of who he is in relation to Pope Leo the 13th, who dealt with a lot of revolutions, whether it be the Industrial Revolution and the modernization of a lot of things that occurred in Leo's time. And he wanted to make sure that humanity was respected, and especially that groundbreaking encyclical Rerum Novarum. And so Pope Leo said very specifically that he chose Pope Leo the 14th because he needed to continue what Pope Leo the 13th had done in his time, but he needs to do it now in our time. And why? Because AI is either going to be used for good or it will destroy humanity. And I do not even joke about that. It can either be used for good, or all of those dystopian movies about the end of the world because computers and robots are literally taking over, that's going to happen unless there's ethics. And so I'm actually kind of impressed. Pharrell wrote that song Happy. And so it's very popular. I mean, it's at every wedding. Holy cow. You just know that that's just the song that people play and gets everybody dancing. And it's a great song, to be honest with you. I can say that I have danced to it a few times, especially if it comes up in my car and I'm just sitting there and just bumping and moving along. But in this case, I honestly think that this is being inspired by St. Carlo Acutis. I really, honest to God, do, because he is kind of the technology saint. And as Carlos Acutis used technology for the good, we need to use technology now for the good. But again, AI is unique because it is considered artificial intelligence, but all it really is acquired intelligence. It's just simply taking information that we are feeding it. So just like you can be brainwashed by fake news, we can basically give fake news to AI. And so I think this is providential. Now, a lot of people are saying John Legend sang there, and John Legend's a big lib, and he he's really pro-choice. Yeah, I'm sure that many of the people there are very pro-choice. But guess what? Sadly, there are pro-choice people in the pews of your home parish. And yet the church doesn't welcome your sinful ideas as truth, but welcomes you as a sinner. And so I found incredibly impressed by the fact that this was done in the Piazza of San Pietro. And if you know anything about St. Peter's architecture, Bernini created these colonnades. So they're like arms, like the braccia, they call it, the arms of Mother Church. So St. Peter's is the church. The whole facade is like Bramante, Bernini, Borromini, and Michelangelo. Over 250 years, those kind of architects inspired the entire piazza, which is the largest Catholic church in the world. The dome itself is over 300 feet high. So that means that you can actually put the Space Shuttle Challenger in it, and on top of it, the Statue of Liberty, and it will fit underneath that dome. And it has brought millions of people each year, kind of just welcoming. And that major street in front is called Via Conciliazione, the way of reconciliation. And so I think that the safest haven is the Vatican. And while there's going to be a lot of discourse that happens there, there should also be a level of celebration. When I lead people onto pilgrimages, and by the way, you can check out platinggrace.com/travel and see all of the different pilgrimages that we're going to in 2027. I invite you to please join me on these major excursions because I think you will see what I'm talking about. That if the Catholic Church does not lead and have a major significant part in the conversation, then we are done as a world. Done. Notice, they didn't do it at Westminster Abbey. They didn't do it in Constantinople. And they certainly didn't do it at Mecca. They didn't do it at any of these other places. They certainly, they didn't do it at the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. And why? Because the other religions would never have it. If you just think about like what the Muslims and the Jewish people at these sacred sites, they would never have celebration like that. Now, am I happy that there were some people there that probably didn't represent Christianity well? No, but I can't stop them from going. And I think that just by showing up at the Vatican, there was, in a sense, a unique blessing opportunity. Because it again physically puts the Catholic Church at the center. So again, if you come with me on a pilgrimage, you're going to see that every incredible, charming town in Europe started with the Catholic Church. They would build the church, and the big steeple became the center point of the church. From there, homes would be built, shops would be created, restaurants will be serving people, and in the main square in front of the church was a piazza, a plaza, so that communities can come together. And yeah, there might be some civil discourse, there might even be some debates, but it's still, guess what? Home. Home. So I need you to see that while we might be frustrated that these things happen in front of St. Peter's Basilica, we can't discount the good things that happen. And probably the best thing that happened was to show the world that the Catholic Church is not only involved and that we are not afraid to welcome people back home, but that the church stands at the center of faith and culture, technology, innovation, and even, dare I say it, history. So this gives us pause to be grateful that our church was smart enough to create a space so that all of our children can come home, even the prodigal ones. Thank you for watching. I hope this helps, and I hope that this gives some context, because whenever things like this happen, we can sometimes go off the rails and just say, oh, look, Pope Leo's as liberal as Pope Francis. And that's just a real shame. If that's our attitude, you're basically a curmudgeon and you're not helping the Catholic Church grow at all. So let's make sure we get the right attitude. And the only way we can do that is when we have dialogue that discusses these things from a pastoral Catholic point of view. So please make sure you like, subscribe, share, and comment. Help us to overcome the algorithms that's suppressing this as good news. And also, please consider supporting us. Our team definitely appreciates when we get your support on patreon.com/thefatherleo show, so that we can continue to dish out faith, culture, and commentary. And please consider joining us on our future pilgrimages, because it's a way to see just how the church stands at the center of everything, but always points us in the direction to the good Lord. God bless you, and stay hungry for God.